Good evening, Ice Wolves fans, and welcome to another edition of Ice Wolves Insider. Well, Ice Wolves head coach Bob Beattie is first up. Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider. At this point, we're going to be talking with head coach and director of operations of the Laurent Ice Wolves, Bob Beattie. Bob, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Kelly. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And obviously, lots to talk about, including a three-game winning streak. But before we get to this streak, let's talk about a trade that you made recently that certainly got a lot of attention throughout the SJHL, and especially here in Laurent. You traded a couple of veterans to Melville in what is rumored to be possibly 5 players coming this way. Maybe if you can get into what exactly is the deal, and then talk about why you made the trade at this juncture.
Well, what I can say about the deal that we got 2 young, a tremendous young list prospect and a good young player in Rhett Kehoe, Cade Kehoe being the list prospect, and futures that are going to set the table quite nicely for us for next year.
Okay.
That being said, that's really ethically as far as I should go.
Yeah. Okay, and let's talk about the rationale. Why make the trade and why at this point of the season?
Well, I guess we had the full complement of 8 20-year-olds. We had in Nathan and in Brennan, 2 excellent players that we hadn't been able to have success with. The team that we had, probably, a lot of factors. Losing Reese Dino didn't help, and 12 one-goal losses, accumulate, and we didn't feel we were going in the direction that we wanted to go. And I think, the key in junior hockey, as it is in any business, is to make the most of your assets, and especially in a market like ours, to be quite frank, that has limited resources, and we felt it was in the best interest of the hockey club in the future, and we're certainly not throwing in the towel by any stretch of the imagination. We feel that we've got great leadership and some quality people leading the way in the dressing room, and some good young talent, to work with, and we feel that the veterans that we have are going to help set the table in the future, and we'll try our hardest to improve our hockey team as the next deadline approaches, and we're going to battle tooth and nail. All
right. So as far as January 10th is concerned, it's still quite some ways in the future, so you're not, do you have a rough idea of what you might be doing there, or is it a lot going to depend on the next month of action here?
Well, as I said, our intention is to improve our team, and if we have an opportunity to add a veteran player, that's going to give us a better opportunity in the playoffs, we're going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Was making the trade made easier by the recent emergence of some of the really young players on the team? Guys like Braden Alexson, of course, recently had a 4-goal game. Owen LeClaire seems to be really coming on lately. Was it made easier by the emergence of guys like that?
Well, I don't know if that was a result of the trade, and maybe feeling a little the necessity that they had to step up. I think Braden was playing very well before the trade, and Owen had his ups and downs, but certainly playing well. And a group of our other young players, certainly, we felt that if they're going to be impact players, the more experience, the more situations that they can get into this year is going to help them in the future.
Yeah. You also made another trade with York Interiors and getting a young defenseman in that deal. Maybe tell us a little bit about that and what you saw in that player and what you've seen so far in Ice Wolves colors.
Well, we were in the market to pick up another defenseman. Obviously, Mitch Houston is out indefinitely with a concussion. With the trade of Brennan Ritchie, it left us with 5 healthy defensemen, and Cayley was a casualty, I guess you'd say, in Yorkton. But being on the sidelines more often than he was in the lineup. But they had 4 returning defensemen that are certainly very solid, and also 2 returnees from the Western Hockey League. So to get in that lineup with their decor is a difficult task for a young player. We acquired him. We're very happy with him. He's got size. He's got some skill, and I thought. He showed up on Saturday, played Sunday, and I thought he executed fairly well, and we're happy with him.
All right. Well, let's talk about the 3-game win streak. It began with another close game with the Melfort Mustangs. This time, you guys were able to come away with the victory, I believe, in overtime. Let's maybe recap that game from your perspective.
Well, it was certainly a great win for us. The pressure was on. We'd lost 5 straight games on the road, and I guess the pressure was on to win, and it was a close game, gutsy effort, and we were able to come out with the overtime win, which took a lot of pressure off.
Yeah,
changed the atmosphere around the room, and we made the deal that we discussed the next day, and I think the guys had a tremendous energy on Friday night. It was one of our better games of the season, and the veterans and the rookies responded, in the way that we certainly desired them to, and I anticipated, to be quite frank.
Of course, we're talking about the victory over Kindersley on home ice as well. And then you had another game Sunday, a Sunday afternoon affair with the SFN Bruins. Again, you guys were able to come away with the victory. Talk about that big win there too.
Well, it was another win. We have to string some wins together, especially when we get the opportunity on home ice, to play teams that their record isn't as good as ours, and we definitely have to we have to execute and get the points that we need in those games. And I thought we played a pretty strong game. I thought Friday night was probably we had a little bit more jump, but certainly Sunday was satisfying as well.
Yeah. Well, Bob, that's all I had to ask you this evening. Thanks very much for being on the program.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us, this is Ice Wolves Insider. We've been chatting with Ice Wolves head coach Bob Beattie. We'll be back with Ice Wolves veterans Smerek and Myles Hovdebo. Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider. At this point, we're going to be talking with a couple of Ice Wolves veterans, Smerek and Myles Hovdebo. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us, Kelly.
All right. A little bit of trivia. Bob was just mentioning that you guys are basically the last 2 holdovers from the last Ice Wolves championship there. We're going to talk a little bit about the fact that one of your teammates from the championship years there was recently dealt away, I should say, to the Melville Millionaires. And maybe we'll start with you there, Myles. Just maybe give us your assessment on, learning that Nathan Boyer and Brendan Ritchie were actually traded away to another team for young players and futures.
Well, obviously losing Boyer, being with him the last 2 years, it was pretty tough. Like, he's one of my good friends, and it's never easy to say goodbye to someone like that. And he was a key player on our team, so it's tough. And Brendan Ritchie is one of our top D-man, so that kind of hurt also. But I wish them the best, and I hope they do great in Melville.
Yeah. Graham, what was your take on the trade? Obviously, you've been line mates with Nathan quite a bit over your career with the Ice Wolves. Talk about the deal from your perspective.
Well, I was shocked. I knew we needed to make a change just because of our record and being in last place, but I didn't think it would be so soon. But I talked to Bob after, and he assured me we're not giving up. We're not trading away our veterans for next year. We're going for it, and I believe that we can still do it. And losing Boyer on a personal level was tough. Being a part of a championship team with him and playing with him probably almost every single game that I've played as an Ice Wolf. So it was definitely weird the next game not having him out there. And losing Richie was our best defenseman, and he was underachieving, and I thought Boyer needed the change as well. And we thought that could help us. It helps us in the future, and I think it'll help them because I think they both needed the change of scenery.
And as it turns out, I believe you guys face the Melville Millionaires right away in the next week or so here. What's that going to be like, seeing these guys in Millionaire colors? I'll start with you there, Myles.
It's definitely going to be really weird. I can't let it get into my head just in case I play them. But Boyer knows where to shoot on me. Same with Richie. But I gotta keep my game to my level and not think about it. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to get under their skin, and hopefully they don't get under mine, and we'll go with it.
Yeah. Graham, what are you anticipating in that Melville matchup?
It doesn't bother me, they're not gonna surprise me with anything. I played with them for 2 years now, but I don't look too much into stuff like that. There's 20 guys in the other team, and I got our 20 guys. We just go and play. I mean, it's not going to be weird for me. Maybe at the beginning, just seeing them in warm-up, but after that, it's just I focus on the game.
Yeah. How has this deal, changed the makeup in the dressing room, and also just kind of, the impact in terms of where guys are slotted in the lineup and all the rest of it? Maybe talk about the impact on the team in terms of everybody who's still here. I'll start with you there, Myles.
The dressing room is definitely a lot quieter now that Richie's not there. His voice kind of carries and stuff, but we don't really think about it that much. Everyone just keeps doing their thing, and we got some younger guys that are starting to step up into some bigger roles here, and I think the last 3 games showed that we're not going to back down, and we're just running with it, and people are doing what they have to do.
Yeah. And Graham, let's talk about those last 3 games. We'll go into detail in a bit here, but just you must have been pleased to see the way the guys came together after that deal was made. I'm sure people from the outside were thinking, oh, they lose a couple of veterans sort of thing. But here you guys have rolled off three wins, 2 since the trade. Talk about the response you saw from your teammates there.
Well, I think we lost a lot of skill in the trade, obviously, but that's the way we needed to play. Our younger guys needed to play. That we needed to play as 4 lines of plumbers. Really, we just needed to work hard. Those guys were leaders in the room, and they had enough skill to try fancy stuff, and that kind of, not their fault obviously, but carried over to our young guys who thought they had to do the same. But now our top players are all hard workers, and we dump it in and chase it, and that's how we get our offense. So it's kind of carried out throughout the team, and I like the way the young guys have responded. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Melfort victory, and I believe, Myles, you had the start in that game, right?
Yep.
And again, another close affair, and I can't imagine what it's like being a goalie in a game like that where you're thinking, I could have an outstanding game and just one little thing and changes the whole dynamic. What was it like playing in that game, and of course getting the victory there?
I try to come into each game with the same set of mind. Like I want to go in, I want to play my best. I want to help the team get to where we need to go. So that's my main focus. Those close games are actually a lot more fun to play in, because there's always going to be shots coming at you. You always have to be ready for those shots, and it just keeps you on edge. And when you get games that are like 6-0 for us or the other team, those are the games that are hard, because it's like I just want to get off the ice almost, because it's like, I wouldn't say boring, but I wouldn't say it's like fun to play in. So I like the closer games that are really tight and really intense, and it keeps me on edge and keeps me going.
Yeah. Graham, let's talk about the 7-2 victory over Kindersley Friday night, again on home ice. Obviously, everybody's saying like one of your best performances of the year, individual-wise, but also team-wise there. Let's talk about that game, what you saw in that game, and why you think your team was successful.
Well, I just think we started playing Ice Wolves hockey of the last 2 years. You know, our record's actually not too bad at home, but the last 2 years I really noticed that we were very physical. You know, we had two pretty talented teams, you know, obviously a championship caliber team and a 30-win team last year. We were a very skilled team, but why we were so scary at home is that we were so physical in that small rink. And that's what the first 10 minutes, we just dumped it in. And we were very physical, and the teams got scared. You know, usually it's, you know, their third game in 3 nights, and they're tired. And when we're really physical, it makes teams shy away.
Yeah. Myles, you were watching Dayson on Sunday afternoon as he picked up the win, nearly picked up the shutout. I got to tell you, I was watching from the stands, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to say it, and I hope I didn't jinx it by thinking it, but should be okay now unless they give up a 3-on-1 rush, which unfortunately happened, and we know what happened. A shutout room with about 10 seconds left. But talk about Dayson's performance watching from the bench there.
I can't say anything bad about the kid. You know, he's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. He's staying out after practice all the time, and you know, it paid off for him in that game. He played unreal. He had to stay in net for a 5-on-3 for almost 2.5 minutes there, and that right there just set the tone for the guys. You know, that was a big momentum gain in our favor that we beat that 5-on-3 for the 2.5 minutes there. And you know, for him to get his first win like that and almost getting that shutout, that's huge for him. It's huge for his confidence, and you know, I can't say enough about the kid, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah. All right, you also get the last question here, and I should have asked you this earlier in the season, but everybody's been talking about your mask.
Yeah.
And it's very cool. I understand it incorporates a lot of the local culture here. Maybe just talk about, I haven't actually seen it in detail, but talk about what's on it and why you decided to paint your mask that way.
I got a call from a guy in Stanley Mission. His name's Leonard Hardlot, and he's a good friend of my mom's, and he called me up. He's like, hey, would you like your helmet painted? We want to kind of help you out, you know? So I was like, for sure. And he's like, if you could put the wolf on the top in Stanley Mission Church, and just that kind of thing, and if you could put that on your helmet, we'll help you out with the paint job. And I was like, for sure, I'll do it, for sure. So, you know, I've always wanted to have my name across the beak of my helmet, so I put Hovdebo on there, and then I decided to stick with the native theme since we're in La Ronge and it's a big native community. So I put a wolf howling on the moon on the left side, the Stanley Mission Church on the right, the wolf on the top, which is pretty cool. Most people notice that right away. They all think it's a bear, but it is a wolf. On the back I have a dream catcher, and in the middle it says Tapueta. It's Cree for believe. And then around that I have all the people, like all of my family members' names around it. So my family's really close to me, so I want that to be incorporated in my helmet. And
yeah. Very cool stuff. What kind of reaction have you got from locals when they see your helmet?
A lot of people ask me, is that Stanley Mission Church on your helmet? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And you know, a lot of people have come up and asked me, and I tell them they seem pretty respectful, and they seem happy that I've done that. So, you know, I'm glad that I did it, and
yeah,
no worries.
Good stuff. Well, guys, that's all I had to ask you this evening, and best wishes on your upcoming road trip here.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider, and it's now time for another edition of From the Stands, but really this edition is going to be from the press box, because tonight we're going with Solo Forbes, the Ice Wolves play-by-play guy, both for the webcasts and of course the radio broadcast on NBC. Dustin, thanks for being on the program, and obviously lots to talk about here. So let's talk about these series of trades that the Ice Wolves made. Of course, the big one involving the Melville Millionaires. We weren't able to get it out of Bob there, but there's reason to believe there's quite a bit coming back for the Millionaires next year in terms of futures, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, like, he hasn't given me much. He keeps everything close to his chest, which you can expect. But And I'm not sure what the ruling would be is if he was to name drop on a player that's on a different roster right now. It could be tampering for all we know. So, but yeah, I mean, as for the trade, as you mentioned, Nathan Boyer, Brendan Ritchie to Melville. They get Rhett Kehoe, who stepped into the roster over the weekend, had an assist in his first game against Kindersley, actually, and the rights to Cade Kehoe, who's a 16-year-old playing with the Saskatoon Contacts of the Saskatchewan Mid AAA Hockey League, having a pretty good season as a 16-year-old, and future considerations, which, as you would expect later on, we'll find out who they get, how many they get. It could be a scenario where, similar to Humboldt and Flin Flon, where Josh Roach went from the Broncos to the Bombers. I don't know if it'll be that type of caliber player. You never know, but I mean, Bob said it on the program here earlier that it set them up well for the future. So, I mean, I think it shocked everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't think it. I think it was shocking, but not surprising, if that makes any sense. Two 20-year-olds cut off December 1st, and might as well get something for them and give them an opportunity to maybe get another championship.
Were you at all surprised that they didn't go a little further with the 20-year-olds? I know Bob has now said that, of course, they're planning on being competitive and obviously making a run for the playoffs. But given the fact that they started that so early with the 20s, and given their place in the standings right now, were you not surprised that maybe a few more were sent before December 1st?
Yes and no. I think they're in a position now where they have to look towards the future. Obviously, Bob said it. They had 8 20-year-olds. They're down to 6 now. Tim Rollins, who came in late, is a 20-year-old. So you get an offensive kind of guy there. So he's a 20-year-old. Graham Smerek and Myles, who were here just a couple of minutes ago, and a couple other guys as well. But I think it's a fine line that he has to walk, and you don't want to sell the farm and say to the L'Orange community, look, we're tanking it for the rest of the year, and we're looking towards next year. Because as it stands right now, as we record this, they're only 1 point back of the Melfort Mustangs for that final wild card playoff spot, if you will. So they're not out of the playoff picture completely. There's still almost half a season left. So it's a fine line of how do we improve our team going forward and in the future by dealing some of these 20-year-olds, but we also have to keep these 20-year-olds because there are a lot of young guys on the team. And with a couple of additions that they made last week, with Rhett Kehoe coming in, they acquired Kaylee Bjork from the Yorkton Terriers. They've signed Brandon Hobblewalks, who started the season with the Estevan Bruins. He's a 1994-born player, and Kehoe and Bjork also born in 1994. So as it stands, they have 11 rostered players that were born in 1994 or later. Of course, Owen Leclerc in 1995 was born, and Olexon's a 16-year-old. So you have to have some veteran leadership because these young guys, they're not going to be able to do it all by themselves. So it's a fine line, and you have to find the balance. And I think right now they've got a good balance.
We don't often see Bob Beattie make a trade for a list prospect, where a list prospect is coming his way. You got to think, though, that the whole Kehoe connection is pretty key here, and as well as the age, because if he actually makes the roster next year, there's no chance he could jump to another league because he's only 17, according to the rules. Would you agree with that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it might help. Of course, we're in a more remote community, the most northern community in Saskatchewan that has an SJHL team, so you have to factor that in. And if you can bring in a list player who's the younger brother of the other player, it will make it more enticing for both of them to come. And I mean, if you look going forward, the nickname of the Ice Wolves in the next couple of years could be Brothers Grimm, because they've got the Durettes coming up. Now they've got the Kehoes. There's another set of brothers, the Hughes as well. So it could be a broadcaster's nightmare going forward. My sympathies, yes. All right. You mentioned the guys that were coming in, and we've seen a few of them play, and obviously you get a great angle of the action in your press box at the Mel there. Maybe give us your assessment on Bjork and as well as Kehoe there. Well, Rhett Kehoe played in both games over the weekend against Kindersley and Estevan. He had an assist in the Kindersley game, and he's not an overly flashy guy. He's certainly not yet, anyways, a guy like Nathan Boyer who will go out and flash you with his offense, but he's a guy who will work hard, who has a knack to get to the front of the net and dig the pucks out of the corner, and that's kind of the mold that Bob wants to go in. If you look at the trades that he's made, to be honest with you, when watching Kehoe play in Melville, we didn't really get an opportunity because he was sort of a fourth line guy with the Millionaires. So the 2 times that we had played them previous to the trade, I didn't really get a good sense of where he was, sort of what he was all about. But he reminded me a lot of Graham Smerek when he was playing. Just that knack to get in, get dirty, dig the pucks free, and he could be a guy that, you know, winds up being a guy like Graham Smerek down the road. He's only 18, and as for Bjork, we only saw him on the Sunday against the Estevan Bruins, and I thought he asserted himself well. Didn't really make many mistakes. Had an assist on his first shift, actually, on a Graham Smerek goal, just 1 minute and 21 seconds into the hockey game. So if there's any way to kick off your debut, that's a nice way to do it for him. And you know, he's a stay-at-home defenseman. I don't think he's going to be a liability, and you know, another 18-year-old that they can build with going forward. Yeah,
seems to be a really good skater, and I was watching that game with Devin Bernatchez, who we've had on the program earlier, and he was really impressed with his puck-moving ability, and says, you know, we gave up a puck-moving Brendan Ritchie. Look who we get back from Yorkton here. So, okay, let's talk about, just finally here, what do you make of the recent 3-game run? There's a lot of ways to look at this. Of course, these games are on home ice instead of on the road. Some of these teams, in fact, all of them are, you know, kind of near the bottom of the conference. Yet, you know, everybody is saying that the Wolves are playing better, you know, especially since the trade. What do you make of what's happened recently? What do you think is the prevailing theory here?
Well, first off, I think the Mel Hagelin's been good to the Ice Wolves over the last couple of years. Good again this year. They're 8-5, 0-1 at home. Of course, the small rink works to their advantage. They're used to it. Other teams, not so much. The small ice surface, not so good on the road. The Wolves, just 2-11, 0-2. So there's room for improvement there.
It's very generous,
say the least.
Yeah.
But they're working hard. And Bob said it. I don't think I've seen the team come out so fired up to play a game all season long as they did on Friday night. They dominated that game. They got under the skin of the other goaltender who tried to go after Jason Berube, got kicked out of the game.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen at the Mel, by the way.
So it's funny because before it, there were times where, you know, they play great and you think that they could be one of the better teams in the league, and then there were the games where why even show up, basically. And the last 2 games since the trade, it just looks like the group's come together. And you don't have that all-star, superstar player on your roster anymore, so it's going to be a by-committee sort of deal. And when you have a guy like Graham Smerek, who is a hard-working guy as your captain, as your leader, the rest of the guys follow. And they were able to come out guns a-blazing in that game and against Estevan as well. And, I mean, the goaltending, too. I mean, in that first period against Kindersley, Myles played great. I mean, it could have been 2 or 3-0 Kindersley early on in that one, but he kept them in it. And again, on Sunday, Myles talked about Dason Sidora. And the 18-year-old goaltender has been great since he came, and that was his best game, 9.4 seconds away from a shutout.
How tough was that?
Yeah, not going to name names on who pinched, but that's tough.
3-on-1 rush, though.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, he picks up his first win, so he gets to keep the puck and put some tape around it and write something on it, but how nice would it have been had it been a shutout as well, just a cherry on top. But going forward, if they can keep that intensity up and keep that hard work up and score by committee, I mean, it's funny, you trade your 2 best players and you come out and score 11 goals in 2 games. And I think they scored 6 on their 6-game road trip or something like that. I think 4, 2, I think 9 goals in 6 games on the road. So that's going to be where we see what this team's all about. This weekend upcoming is going to be a big...
Well, good stuff, Dustin, as always. Thanks for being on the program.
Anytime.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us, this is Ice Wolves Insider, and we've been chatting with Ice Wolves play-by-play man Dustin Forbes. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Well, that's all the time we have for this evening's edition of Ice Wolves Insider. I want to thank all my guests, and we'll see you this time next week.